Whoa. Hey. Hi, honey.
Hi.
How you doing?
I'm all right. How
Sorry,
are you?
I had to boot myself up there for a second. I didn't know I was human for like the last 10 seconds or so.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Are you better now?
Oh, God. Yeah, I'm getting there. I'm exhausted. I gotta tell you. But, we got this daily Bible podcast thing to do, so...
Yes.
We're gonna go through what we're gonna be going through today, and it is gonna be just...
We're having a pre-meeting.
Spot on.
Pre-meeting.
No, I'm just...
No, you were like, we're going to be going through what we're going to be going through. That's like the definition of pre-meeting.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Well, I'm just going to give you the lowdown of it, and then we'll spend the rest of the time with Casey actually correcting me on what it is.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's not a whole lot going on today, but I'll let you just explain it all, honey.
I was super duper paying attention earlier.
Yeah, mansplain that shit.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So... if you guys don't remember, last time on the Daily Bible Podcast, Satan, the accountant, got David into some shit with God, and then David started building a temple or telling people to build a temple or whatever. He also told the Levites to fuck off. And if you guys don't know, there's a shit ton of Levites. We know because we counted them all, because the Satan accountant wanted us to do it. Actually, no, the Satan accountant was like, fuck those Levites. And then comes this meticulous accounting of the sons of Levi that is directly from the pits of hell. Okay? The Levites changed their duties because basically they had just been shitting in their britches for about 100 years or so. The Levites were turned into maids, or you could also say they were bitch made, if you will. Priests were divided up by how hot they are. God loves a hot priest. And then they appointed people to sing Britney Spears all day long. Most notably the Oops, I Did It Again. That is the theme song of the Jews.
I feel like you weren't listening.
Oops, I did it again. I didn't listen to God. Now he's gonna fuck me up.
Oh, baby.
Oops. Then they started the class warfare, which will rage for centuries on into the present. I mean, we're still fighting the class thing. And then they hired the Game of Thrones gatekeepers, the Watchers on the Wall, to fight the ice giants. So...
You know they're in the Middle East, right, John?
That's why they needed a northern wall to watch out for the ice giants.
I guess it's better than the southern wall we're building here, right?
What's up, heathens? How y'all doing? So, obviously I didn't get things right. Maybe I fell asleep during the meeting. I don't know.
He was a little distracted during the meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, anyways, Casey, would you like to correct me on my bullshit?
Yes. So, as GE went over the last time, David instructed Joab and the commanders to go out and count everybody for the army. We haven't figured out why that's a bad thing. They counted everybody before and it wasn't an issue, but they're doing it again and it's a serious problem. So they have some calamities, plague of death, all kinds of shit goes down. Well, David decides that he's going to put his son Solomon in charge of, well, he doesn't put him in charge right now, but his son Solomon is going to be his heir and will be the person who is responsible for building the temple. So he makes all kinds of preparations for building the temple. So we start out today. When they did the count of all of the soldiers, they did not include the Levites in the count, mainly because Levites aren't soldiers. They don't have any soldiers. They're the priests, if you remember that from way back. And so David has, it says basically, also we're starting in 1 Chronicles, chapter 23. And when David was old and full of years, he gathered all together all the leaders of Israel, as well as the priests and Levites. The Levites, 30 years old or more, were counted, and the total number of men was 38,000. David said, of these, 24,000 are to supervise the work of the temple of the Lord, and 6,000 are to be officials and judges. 4,000 are to be gatekeepers, and 4,000 are to praise the Lord with the musical instruments I have provided for that purpose.
Ooh, I wonder what musical instruments. Do you think like they had like a full hard rock band going, like electric guitar, drums, and then you got a singer? Ooh, they probably had like a keyboard person and like a violinist.
Yeah, that's probably exactly how it happened. So, David divided the Levites into groups corresponding to the sons of Levi. Now, the next portion of 1 Chronicles chapter 23 goes through the 3 sons of Levi and their sons. Basically, just a list of names. You all know, if you've watched the show before, how bad I am at pronouncing the names. And Dr. Josh from Digital Hammurabi. If you don't know about Digital Hammurabi, you should check them out. They're a great YouTube channel. But Dr. Josh offered to, go through and read this section for me. So it was all pronounced, so I could pronounce everything correctly. But I mean, that's boring, right? Like, we don't just want to read names. So
no.
So we didn't do that.
Although I do have to say that Dr. Josh from Digital Hammurabi is an excellent rapper.
Yeah.
And he recently rapped the with the Gilgamesh story. Mm-hmm. It was fantastic. You guys should go and watch that. Also, subscribe to Digital Hammurabi. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh. Yeah. So we're going to skip that. Now, it was also important that the Levites' duties change. Because if you remember, as they were traveling around the desert and moving here and there and everything, the Levites' duties were based on picking up and moving the basically mobile temple, right? Like the altar and all of the curtains and all of the fucking poles and all of everything. They had to pick up and move everything, not to mention the Ark of the Covenant and everything else. So they're responsible for carrying and moving all of those things. Well, if you have a temple, you don't have to carry that shit anywhere because it has a place to be. So their jobs changed. So the descendants of Levi by their families and the heads of families as they were registered under their names and counted individually, that is the workers 20 years old or more who served in the temple of the Lord. For David said, since the Lord, the God of Israel, has granted rest to his people and has come to dwell in Jerusalem forever, the Levites no longer need to carry the tabernacle or any of its articles used in its service. According to the last instructions of David, the Levites were counted from those 20 years old or more. So now the duty of the Levites was to help. Well, not now, but this is explaining how the Levites served. The duty of the Levites was to help Aaron's descendants in the service of the temple of the Lord. And if you remember, Aaron was Moses' brother. So,
like, this goes beyond just going face down, ass up for God, right?
Yeah. I'm going to tell you what they're going to do.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they have their pray time, but let's go through this. So, they're in charge of the courtyards, the side rooms, the purification of all sacred things, and the performance of other duties of the house of God. So basically, they had to keep all of that stuff clean and tidy. Everything had to be kept up. They were also in charge of the bread set out on the table, the flour for the grain offerings, the unleavened wafers, the baking and the mixing, and all the measurements of quantity and size.
Is this why, like, in Catholicism and some sects of Christianity, like, you have to eat the bread? Because, I mean, it seems like bread and, like, offerings of bread and everything, and, like, the consumption of all that kind of bread was very important to the... We're not Jews yet, are we?
No, we're not Jews yet.
To the Israelites. And it kind of seems like it's connected in some way. I don't know. Maybe not, but it just seems like it's connected.
Okay, so it's actually not connected to this because the communion is connected to Jesus. The communion is Jesus's body and blood.
Well, right. I understand that, that the communion is the body and blood of Jesus. But, I mean, when he broke bread, I mean, it was a Passover meal, so it was unleavened bread.
Right.
So, and this is unleavened bread that's offered to God.
Right.
So
so why? But and I mean, Jesus was a Jew, so unleavened bread. Did they have unleavened? Yes. So, I mean, I think that's why they would use unleavened bread.
Well, right, but I mean that's the wafers and everything that they serve at church would have to also be unleavened bread, right?
They're called hosts, and yes, they're unleavened.
They're called hosts, motherfucker, and they turn into skin when you eat them. Get it the fuck right, okay?
According to Catholics, they do literally do that. Yes.
I want a statistic on how many Catholics actually think that transubstantiation is a real thing. Because then they just go there every Sunday and they eat human flesh.
I know. Okay, so I don't know how many Catholics actually believe transubstantiation. Because here's the thing. I do know a lot of Catholics who believe it's symbolic. But that's not what the Catholic doctrine says.
Right.
It's not symbolic.
So definitely the Pope eats human skin.
I know one person that I am absolutely 100% sure believes in transubstantiation. My stepmother.
Oh, Legion?
Yes.
Obviously, Legion would eat human flesh. I'm just saying.
So, there's that. So we've got the baking and the mixing, all the measurements. Okay, so they were also to stand every morning to thank and praise the Lord. They were to do the same in the evening, and whenever burnt offerings were presented to the Lord on the Sabbaths and at new moon festivals and at appointed feasts. So they had to stand and praise at various times.
I feel like God would really want them face down, ass up. I mean, just ready and open for whenever God decides to come.
I don't even have anything to say to that. I'm just going to move on. They were to serve before the Lord regularly in the proper number and in the way prescribed for them, because the proper number matters. Mm-hmm. And so the Levites carried out their responsibilities for the tent of the meeting in the holy place, and under their brothers, the descendants of Aaron, for the service of the temple of the Lord. They also cast lots, just as their brothers, the descendants of Aaron, did, in the presence of King David and of Zadok, Ahimelech, and the heads of families of the priests and of the Levites. The families of the oldest brother were treated the same as those of the youngest.
Do you think that special number is 69?
No.
What?
So at this point, what they did was they divided priests by lot. They were divisions of the sons of Aaron. So the sons of Aaron we know were Nadab, Abihu, Eleazar, and Ithamar. Okay, so two of Aaron's sons died before their father did, which we knew those were the shoved the balls of fire up their ass sons. Mm-hmm. You remember, because they used the wrong fire to light the incense? Mm-hmm. So the other two served as the priests. And David separated the descendants of the two of them into divisions for their appointed order of ministering. A large number of leaders were found among Eleazar's descendants and among Ithamar's, and they were divided accordingly. 16 heads of families from Eleazar's descendants and 8 heads of family from Ithamar's descendants. They divided them impartially by drawing lots, for there were officials of the sanctuary and officials of God among the descendants of both. So they also divided into 24 divisions. So they had lots, then they had divisions.
What?
Yeah. So the scribes recorded their names in the presence of the king and the officials, Zadok the priest, Ahimelech the son of Abiathar, and the heads of the families of the priests of the Levites. one family being taken from Eleazar, and then one from Ithamar. So what they did was they just sorted them. And there were 24 of these lots where they sorted everybody out.
Oh my God.
What?
This is just like in Harry Potter. They put the hat on the person. It's like, class 22. And it's like they're all full of dipshits.
So this ordering gave them their appointed order of ministering when they entered the temple of the Lord, according to the regulations prescribed by them by their forefather Aaron. So, I have to mention their forefather Aaron, as the Lord, the God of Israel, had commanded him. We don't want to leave God out, because remember what happened to Moses when he hit the rock and he forgot to say God said. We don't want that to happen here. So it's kind of like, I don't want to say an order of priority, but that's kind of what it is. Like the order they're allowed to go into the church, so all of these little piddly things that really super matter.
It's like I said, class warfare.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like warfare as we know it now, obviously, or class, anything like that. But I mean, this is, class kind of distinction.
Yeah, definitely. So, and then there was, I don't know, I guess kind of. But they were all Levites, so they were among the priests and the holy of the land. So this is just the divisions within Levites and how they're...
I understand, but I'm fairly certain even in India, there's a rich guy that's like at the bottom of the totem pole.
Well, yeah, so like, I don't know, it could be by seniority, or it could be by... There could be a lot of different ways that they... that this worked out. Like at work, we call it... protocol. Mm-hmm. So who sits at the table, like who sits at what position in the table is based on protocol. And so that's kind of what they're setting up here is protocol.
I mean, like, do you think that's like how to keep them in line? It's like, don't fucking talk back to me. I'll send you to the back.
Well, I mean, if that person had that kind of authority.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, after they did all of this, they appointed singers. Okay, so David, together with the commanders of the army, set apart some of the sons of Asaph, Heman and Jeduthun, for the ministry of prophesying, accompanied by harps, lyres, and cymbals. And then they go through the list of the men who performed the singer service. Okay, I'm not reading all of these names. You can do it if you want to. 1 Corinthians 25. I believe this will be chapter 2 through 5. Or I'm sorry, verse 2 through 5. And then those men, the singers, were under the supervision of their fathers for the music of the temple of the Lord, with cymbals, lyres, and harps, for the ministry of the house of God. Asaph, Jeduthun, and Heman were under the supervision of the king, along with their relatives, all of them trained and skilled in music for the Lord. They numbered 288. Young and old alike, teacher as well as student, cast lots for their duties. So they broke those up into 24 different classes that had different duties. Okay?
Duties.
I'm also not going through all of those.
Duties.
And then finally, gatekeepers were appointed.
Ooh, this is the watchers on the wall.
Yeah, actually.
The ice wall.
Not the ice wall.
Looking out for the ice giants.
No.
Frost giants.
No.
I think
they're not looking for giants.
I think that's the Viking thing.
But they are kind of like security for the temple. You know, they're
like
there
bouncers.
to protect it. Sure, honey, like bouncers. Sometimes it's just not worth the fight.
I can just see them at the front of the temple. Like, they're just standing there, sunglasses on, little earpiece in. And it's like, no, you're not on the list. You can't get in.
They make sure protocol works. No. So they go through all the names of the sons, it's ridiculous. The divisions of the gatekeepers, they appoint all of them. And that's actually, I know it was pretty short, but that's actually all there is for this week, because the book divides it there. And I would continue on and do the next day also with this, but the next day is kind of long. So putting it with this one would make it extra long. But next time we're going to go over the responsibilities of the divisions of the gatekeepers. We're also appointing treasurers.
Treasurers?
They're also appointing other officials and judges. There's going to be 12 military commanders, and we're going to talk about those. And really, we're probably not going to go through a lot of that because it basically just says how many men in what division, who was this, who was that, with a bunch of names again. So they're reorganizing again, right? Then we're going to go through we're not going to go through the officers. Officers will be appointed for each tribe. And apparently numbering is fine here, but numbering wasn't fine before. So I still don't know what's going on. Then we're going to talk about who oversees the possessions. So like the royal storehouses, the royal possessions, who oversees, and who's in charge of shit like camels and vineyards and stuff.
Why is this stuff in the Bible? Like, I don't understand.
I don't know, but spoiler alert, Obil, the Ishmaelite, is in charge of camels.
Oh, fuck. You know, that ruined the entire Bible, honey. I don't know why the fuck you just told us that.
Then we're going to talk about who the closest advisors of the king are. David's going to talk about, he's going to basically tell of Solomon's succession. And David's going to give a keynote address. They're going to talk about the plans for the temple.
The keynote, isn't that what Moses gave right before he died?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He's going to hold his own TED Talk right before his death.
Yeah. And God, there's going to be contributions, encouragement, prayer and praise. And then we're going to move into Psalms.
Oh, yay.
The Psalms.
All the Psalms we've been skipping.
Well, we have been skipping some Psalms throughout, that David wrote.
Because they're like pointless, but apparently people like the NIFB use them extensively to support their hate.
Yeah, so that's one of the interesting things. This weekend, one of the, I think it was Pastor Anderson, wasn't it? Stephen Anderson did a sermon, whatever.
They were all sermons.
I love how they said this was a conference, and like they were all like secretive about the location. They weren't going to reveal the location until the day of the conference, the day the conference started. But the entire conference was held at Revival Baptist Church, and that was the pastor who was like sponsoring the whole thing and holding the whole thing was the pastor at Revival Baptist Church. So like kind of anticlimactic there, Boyle. But anyway, Anderson gave a sermon about Psalms and how he likes that they sing Psalms and not just from the hymnal, because the Psalms justify some of the really shitty things that they think. So I'm kind of dreading and kind of looking forward to going through Psalms. I'm not sure how good it'll go as far as episodes and content, but we'll see. John can always make it interesting, right?
Mm-hmm. I make every one of these interesting. I mean, today we had fucking bouncers and frost giants, and I mean, it was interesting today. There was even a point in the thing.
A what?
A point in the story where a guy got told to go to the back of the bus.
No.
I mean, I kind of laid it out as like a consequence sort of thing. It may or may not have happened, but he definitely got told to go to the back of the bus. I can be 100% sure on that.
Right.
And I have little to no evidence to support it, but I am 100% sure. Anyways, heathens, we really appreciate you guys being here, listening to our Bible podcast that we're doing, because we're enjoying it. I know Casey still loves me.
I do.
And I guess we'll see you heathens next time.
Don't forget to stand up and use your voice.
Bye, heathens.
Bye, y'all.